In this demo, I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful simple card with this really nice stenciled background with the wonderful crocodile or alligator on it. I'm going to make a slightly different version. I want to show you how to make the background, how we get the crocodile, and this would make a brilliant children's card, or you could write Snappy Birthday or print on the computer on that. Thought it might be quite amusing, but really quite easy to do. So I'm going to start with a large piece of card, and I'm using a super smooth card here. And I'm taking the stencil with these beautiful leaves on it. So I'm just going to pop it down, and I'm using Emerald and Verbena, which are the inks from the Eyes Ink range, and these are the dye-based inks. And the great thing about the dye-based inks is, put them onto a finger dauber, you get a beautiful translucent look. They mix beautifully, but they're so much, they just give you, you can see there, a beautiful sort of translucent impression. So I'm going to move around with the stencil and just colour through, and the inks just flow really well, and each time I'm moving my stencil so I get the leaf in a different way or a different format. So move it around, and I'm just going to put a few on. You would fill the whole page, leaving space with them in this colour. I'm then going to move the stencil, and I'm going to switch to using the Verbena colour, which again is the Eyes Ink dye inks. This is a really nice greeny yellow, so it's got a really sort of tropical look to it. So again, I'm moving the stencil, but if you notice this time, with this sort of greeny yellow Verbena colour, I'm not reloading my dauber, because the inks run a long way, and as they sort of run down, you get a different shady look. So I'm just going to pop, we'll have one more there. And then I'm going to come back in with the dauber that I used with the emerald green on it, but I'm not going to add any ink to it at all. And I'm just going to colour through lightly. And what that does is, you can see it gives me like another layer and a different shade, because it's so light, it gives you a different colour. So now I'm just filling in any gaps using that. And then once I've done that, I do exactly the same with the dauber that had the Verbena on it. Filling in gaps roughly, but not adding any more ink. I'm just using whatever ink is left on the dauber and scrubbing it over very lightly. So I get all those different layers and depth and things like that. So once I've done that and I'm happy with it, I would trim that down to size. And then I would take another die in the set, or another stencil in the set, and this is the dots, and this just works so well. So I'm going to put this randomly over, and I'm going to switch colours, and I'm going to go this time for the honey and the walnut. So the honey is the meal, and I can never pronounce this, bois de noix, which is basically walnut. So let's go and take a little bit of the honey, and I'm just going to randomly add over, very shadily, dots into this, using this honey colour. Not trying to fill it all completely, just to add a little bit of depth in. And then I'm going to move on, and we're going to take the walnut, and I'm going to press on just a little bit harder with this, and just add a few dots in of the walnut. So I've got that really nice sort of multi-layer background. Okay, once you've done that, you would cut that down, shade around the edge, which I've done with the green, and I've mounted this onto a piece of the paper from the paper pack, and I've just put a strip across the middle with the limey green colour that you get in the card pack with it, and I've just added a few of the dots on there, and it's just simple. Once it was done, I added my stencil and just added a few dots so that I get a real follow through in the design. So now I want to add the crocodile onto the front. So I'm going to bring in the crocodile dies, and if you can see here, you get two that are going in opposing directions. And again, these have got all of the deboss detail on them that we found earlier when we were dealing with some of the other dies in the set. So I'm going to do the same technique, and we're going to ink these as if they were stamps. So I'm going to slide a piece of card down, pop my dies into place. I've got a magnetic base, so that is helping a little bit. And I'm using the Réglisse, which is a sort of black, or almost like it's called licorice, so it's more like a very dark grey. And I'm very lightly going to ink the die. So very lightly ink the die, a bit like a stamp, but I don't want it heavily coated. I only want it lightly coated. And then I've taken a piece of this dark moss or olive green that comes in the paper pack that you get, or the card pack with the collection. Tape that to my base. And I'm just going to run that through my die cutting machine, and then I'll show you what that looks like when it's cut. So that's been through and they're now cut. So I can just take those two pieces out. And if you can see here, if I bring in a piece of white again, it's always easier to see. I've got all that detail, the sort of smiling face. I love the little smiling face on those. Little bit of shading, but all of the areas are coloured through. But the other thing these dies have got is they have spaces where the feet should be. And this is so that you can ink through the die to actually put that detail in. So what I'm doing is just sliding the die back over the top, coming back in with a little bit of that reglisse, and just shading over the top of the die. There we go. And then when I take those out, you can see then you've got the little feet in there as well. So all I need to do to complete my card is bring back in my card blank. I'm going to take a little bit of foam tape across the bottom, decide which one you want of the two, and I'm just going to put him across the bottom of my card. So I've got a really simple, and I think it makes a great kids card. You could do loads with the crocodile, but just using the stencils and using the dies, a little few inks, really simple to make a beautiful card.